Some huge news coming out regarding Ruben Neves this morning. Guys, welcome back to Talking Wolves. My name is Dave, giving you the latest Wolves news and updates. As always, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for all the latest news and follow us on all of the socials to keep you up to date. But today, some big news in regards to Mr. Ruben Neves. His future has been uncertain. Going into this summer, I think it was pretty clear that Wolves needed to either give him a contract, which was unlikely, or that he was going to be moving on. The favourite to sign Ruben Neves was Barcelona, but Jorge Mendes was desperate to get some sort of swap deal to happen between Barcelona and Wolves for Ruben Neves. The main player there was going to be Ansu Fati, who to come to Molineux, but Fati was adamant that he didn't want to leave Barca. So they had to call off talks. They didn't really have the money to spend on Ruben Neves. He was never really a priority for Xavi, who was manager there. And really, other than Barca, there hasn't been huge amounts of interest in Ruben Neves for one reason or another. There are other teams out there searching for players of a similar mould, but there's players like Declan Rice, who I know he's a lot more money, but he's got the homegrown factor to him. There's Moises Caicedo from Brighton. So for whatever reason, Ruben Neves is obviously getting overlooked a little bit. But today, and it was a real shock to see this, Saudi club Al-Hilal have made an approach to sign Ruben Neves from Wolves for 55 million euros, so just under 50 million pounds, to sign Ruben Neves. And it said that Ruben Neves is excited, he's been convinced, and if the plans do not change, he's expected to sign next week. Now, this is a huge signing, and both good and bad for Wolves, I would say. The bad thing is that Ruben Neves, phenomenal player, phenomenal captain, phenomenal servant, he's going to be moving on away from the club. But this is huge for Wolves because obviously we've got financial restrictions at the moment. I don't think this 55 million is going to just come in and make all of those disappear. No way. You know, there's still going to be, Wolves are going to still have to do things to be clever in the transfer market and balance the books slightly. But this is going to go a hell of a long way to helping Wolves out and help Wolves move in this transfer market. This is more money than what I expected. Even when Wolves were after that £45 million, I still thought that was a little bit steep for a player who only had 1 year left on his deal. When Barca were looking at that sort of £30 to £35 million mark, I thought I'd probably be satisfied with £35 million. But the fact that Wolves could get 45 million plus would be a huge piece of business for this football club. Now, one of the main things that people are talking about is that they're surprised and disappointed that Ruben Neves is possibly going to be moving to Saudi Arabia. For me, as a Wolves fan, I'm intrigued and have time for Ruben Neves, but my main interest is Wolverhampton Wanderers. And what I would be looking at this deal, if Ruben Neves wants to leave and we can get really good money for him, for me, I'm not really bothered where Ruben Neves goes. He's at an age now where I think for a player in his role, he's still easily got about 10 years left, barring any major injuries. He's got 10 years easily left at a good level of football. So he's still got plenty of time to get that Champions League football that he's spoken about before. But he could stay in Saudi Arabia for 1 to 2 years and make a ridiculous amount of money purely from his point of view, from a selfish point of view. I would be the same. He could make in the next 12 to 24 months a huge amount of money, set him and his young family up for life, and then he can do what, he can experiment with his career. He can go make moves to other Champions League clubs. In a couple of years' time, he'll still only be 28 years of age. That's still plenty of time to come back to Europe. Clubs like Barcelona, different clubs across Europe may be in a slightly better financial position by then, or he may stay in Saudi, and Saudi may, as they are planning, may become one of the major leagues in football. You don't know. At the moment, the record for a Saudi player is nowhere near, a player going to Saudi, is nowhere near this sort of fee. So it would be huge for Ruben Neves, and it'll be a massive talking point for him and a player. He'll get a lot of attention. Now, sort of looking at the almost club side of things, obviously Fosun are going to be really, really happy with this business. You know, from a business point of view for Wolves, they signed Ruben Neves for about £15 million a number of years ago to make a very, very healthy profit on him as well. But this sort of links between the Chinese and the Saudis, could that be something that Wolves, we see more often in the future? Fosun have made no secret that they're looking for investors into Wolverhampton Wanderers. There have been very small rumours over the last year or so that Saudi companies and consortiums have looked at making investments in Wolves. But will this give, maybe push things like that along as well? Who knows? But Ruben Neves to Al-Hilal, this is a really, really interesting piece of business, and I'm sure it's going to be moving every hour. There's going to be more and more information on this, but well advanced, 55 million euros. Neves is happy with it. Wolves should be happy with it, and obviously we wish him all the best. Maybe we see him come back to Wolves in some sort of entity in the future, but this is really big for Wolves in the fact that they can now potentially kickstart their transfer window, and I'd much rather it happen now for a really good fee than us have to wait till right at the end of August where we haven't really got going in the transfer window. So we'll keep you updated as we know more information, but be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys very, very soon.